What if the biggest threat to your relationships is you? Welcome to Marya's Musings. I'm Marya Cosme, also known as Brown Girl Interrupting, and this is a space to walk with me as I process life, find meaning, make connections, and offer you some tools to look within. And today we are going to be talking about this idea of why are you sabotage love? Because you might not realize it, but we're all doing it when we're not understanding ourselves. So this year, I launched a course called Empowerment Unlocked because for the last 5 years, I have been healing and learning how to rediscover myself after really losing who I was through a narcissistic abusive marriage of 17 years and probably through a lifetime of messages and stories I've been told and believed about myself. So in this process of 5 years, I realized that I've actually been utilizing a lot of tools that help me to reclaim who I am and my power. And now I want to take those tools and processes and similar ideas to help others to find themselves in those moments when we lose ourselves. So for me, it was the divorce that woke me up. But for you, it might be your children leaving home. It might be the end of a really long relationship, or maybe a moment when all the situationships have overwhelmed you and you are ready for something new. Maybe it's a job loss. Maybe it's just this moment where you wake up and that routine life you live, where everything is predictable, everything is routine, and somewhere along the ways, you've lost yourself. Whatever it is, there is a moment in our lives where we wake up and we realize that the person we're looking at in the mirror isn't recognizable. So if that's where you are, you're on the right track. You're with me on this journey. And that's what we're going to be talking about is, so how do we find what's buried beneath all that hurt and the stories that we're told about ourselves to really discover who we're meant to be? That's this show, Marya's Musing. That's my work and why I created Brown Girl Interrupting, to guide others to self-empowerment. So why are you sabotaging love? Well, I got some thoughts for you. And it actually comes back to some learning because I am also an educator. And so I'm going to educate y'all while also telling stories and giving you tools. Yeah, it comes back to social science. So there is this very interesting gentleman named David Rock. And David Rock has a concept called SCARF. And SCARF really is born from this psychological theory about motivation that's connected to neuroscience. So neuroscience meaning how our bodies respond and react to our brains and how everything is connected neurologically. And it has to do with behaviors. The psychology of it is it's also in relation to our relationships with others, right? So David Rock has discovered that there are 5 social domains. Here they are, friends, 5 social domains. And he created this cool little acronym that it's easy to remember them. SCARF. Wrap yourself around with SCARF today, friends, because that's what we're about to do. That was cheesy, I know, but you know what? That's me. All right. So first off, what is the thing that we are? And when we think about these domains, here's what I want you to understand. When you're thinking about these 5 domains, they exist on a continuum, right? Each one is in a continuum. But that continuum either makes us feel threatened and unsafe or replenish us and feels like a reward. So the first domain is status, okay? Status is what we're talking about when everyone wants to feel recognized, competent, accepted, sometimes even admired. So when status is high, oh, I love it, right? You see me, you know me, you value me. But when status is low, you can't even see me. I'm invisible to you. You don't value who I am. We feel threatened. So replenish or threatened, right? Certainty. That's the other one, right? Certainty is probably the one that we all want the most, but don't even recognize and realize to name it. Certainty means we can predict things. There's predictability, there's confidence in, I know what the future holds, I know what's going to happen, I understand this person's behavior, and they pretty much are consistent in the way they show up in it. That's what we talk about when we talk about consistency, friends, right? Certainty. And again, it can be really rewarding, or it can be damn near frustrating, or just threatening because someone flips on a switch with you, right? Autonomy is our control over ourselves, over our decisions, but knowing also that we have some power. The more power we have over ourselves, our decisions, our spaces, our environment, the more we feel positive, replenished, happy. The less power we have, the more we feel threatened and unsafe. Y'all get the picture here, right? Relatedness is just our connection to others, right? We're social creatures. We are naturally social creatures. The brain is a social organ and it thrives on connection with others. So when we have solid connections that feel soft, feel gentle, feel welcoming, relatedness is easy to feel. And obviously, when it's not, we feel threatened. And then there's fairness. Speaks for itself. We want things to be fair. So we feel threatened or we feel safe, right? That's scarf. But love, because that's what we're talking about, right? Why we sabotage love is actually more than romantic. And safety and threat can be experienced in any dynamic with anyone. So, story time, friends. It always is, right? I want to share a story with you from a trip to Puerto Rico. And this is me being vulnerable. This is me being really honest. This was a real thing that happened just a few months ago with my boys. And if you've read any of my posts or you see the things I'm putting up lately, I am just in this positive space of loving my children, of being close to my children, of having a great relationship with my children. But the truth is, we have gone through some storms and volcanoes and tornadoes to get here. And they just happened in this year. And over the last 8 years, they've been happening. But this is a story of a moment when it wasn't rainbows and unicorns. Um, I went to Puerto Rico with two of my sons, my oldest and my youngest, and I took them there for my son's spring break from college. Freshman year, spring break from college. I knew he was going to go to boot camp all summer. So I said, "You're home for a few days. I'm taking you to Puerto Rico." And my oldest son said, "I'm coming too." So let's go, friends. We're going to Puerto Rico. I mean, who doesn't love that? Sunshine, warmth, the beach, everything you could imagine. But again, the whole idea of relationships is that our experiences and what makes us feel safe is not the same for everyone. So I'm in sunshine and loving Puerto Rico and loving all the experiences and socially connecting with lots of people when in fact that's triggering my sons. And so there was a moment, right? To me, simple, mundane moments. A photo taken, talking to strangers, and sharing some stories about me and my children. But for my kids, it led to a whole lot more feelings. And that led them to react to me in a way where I felt threatened. Um, their response just took me right back to the feeling of being alone while being with someone and how unsafe that can actually feel, because that was my entire marriage for 17 years. And to feel my boys replicate some of those moments really stung me. But at the moment, I didn't have the words. I didn't understand. And I certainly didn't go back to scarf in that moment because I was in my emotions. And my immediate instinct was instead to escape. I walked away. We were all together in one place, and I just walked and walked and walked and walked for almost 30 minutes. Don't know if they were behind me. Don't know if they were near me. I think I probably lost them because I didn't care. I didn't care if they knew where I was. I didn't care if they were even walking towards me. I was just going to protect myself. So it was this moment of breaking while also building up a barrier at the same time. I know you felt that before, right? It hits you in your gut and you're feeling the pain, but all you want to do and all your defense systems are telling you to do is build up that wall, because if you build up the wall, no one can penetrate it and the pain won't hurt as much. And so that's what I did. And I walked. Eventually, they caught up with me, not with softness, not with apologies, but they caught up with me and we went to dinner. Dinner was no better. Dinner was even worse. Dinner took me to a place where my walls broke down and all I had was pain. And I cried and cried and cried sitting at that table. And eventually I decided to leave. I walked out the restaurant, told them I was going to the bathroom, and just left. Walked around the neighborhood until I called an Uber to take me home. And when I got back to the hotel, I chose silence, which, if anybody knows me, and some of you do, that's rare. I said nothing. I moved through my evening with my children right there in that space and said nothing to them. And that threw my son off a little bit. And I started to see him asking me for speaking, like, why aren't you talking, Mom? Like, what's going on? Just say something. Just say something. And in my mind, I thought, do you want me to speak because you care what I have to say and what I'm feeling? Or do you want me to speak so that you can dissuade your discomfort of me being silent? And the truth is, I knew the answer. We often do. It was a rough trip. I'm holding it all together right now, friends, because I've already cried today about it. It was a rough trip. And I faced myself in a lot of ways in that trip. Being silent was one, but it was also kind of trying to really break down what happened here. Like, really, what happened here? Those are the worst ones, right? The ones where it's like you go from like, we're cool. And then suddenly it's like, whoa, wait, now you're yelling at me. Now you're angry at me. Now you're shutting me down. Like, what happened? And for me, moments like that are really, really hard because that was my marriage for so many years. There was no certainty. There was no knowing when the smallest thing was going to erupt into massive arguments that led to days of silence as control. So, yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But let's bring it back, friends, because really, this is about how I learned from this experience, because pain should always give us some lesson that we can take away and be able to grow from. And I did. I absolutely learned. One of the things I learned is how to connect this experience to scarf. In that moment in Puerto Rico, a lot of my triggers were tied to scarf, right? First, there was certainty. I didn't feel certain about how my sons would react. And that uncertainty made me feel safe. Like, how would I have known that a picture and a conversation with a stranger would trigger so many other things? There's also, though, that relatedness, because I wanted to feel connected and understood by them. And when that didn't happen, it just felt like a rupture in our relatedness and our connectedness. And there definitely was some elements of status, because I felt like I wasn't being heard or respected as their mother and as the adult who had brought them there on this trip. Um, so status was definitely something that started to be triggered. So all of this connected me back, right, to scarf and these domains and how they were in play at this moment. But I'm saying all of this because when we understand those domains, we can start to understand how we are responding and what we need and what might be coming up for us. So for me, it took it took a couple days for me to sit with this. It took a couple days, but when I started to understand what it was I needed. And when I understood what I needed, I was able to then communicate it to my children, right? And that's the key. The key is, how do you take your knowledge of things and then understand it for yourself? Number one, it's not about others, it's always about you first. After that, communicate it to others, because if this relationship with you have with someone isn't sabotaged, you can save it by having a real conversation where you come from a place of understanding and you come from a place of communication, which everybody talks about communication, but what we communicate is really important. So with my boys, right? Clearly, I'm not going to say scarf. I have already been the mom who brings home her facilitation skills, right? Nope, didn't say scarf. But what I did say is that I told them what I needed and what I missed, right? So I said, I didn't feel seen or cared for in that moment. You weren't gentle with me as a woman, as your mother, as a nurturer. And the reactions that I got from you surprised me. I didn't expect my children to talk to me like that, to treat me like that. And it was a sudden shift in behavior from one thing to the next, right? Like, why would I anticipate that in my mind? I'm thinking, why would I anticipate that, right? So I shared this with my kids, right? But in sharing it with my children, I also had to be open to asking them what they were feeling. And what came out, interestingly enough, was some things for them, right? There were things, and one of which for them was autonomy. Watching me being so free in the way that I am on my own countered everything they've heard about me since they were children as a woman, that I wasn't capable, that I wasn't independent, that I couldn't do things on my own. And here I was showing them that I could. And sometimes risk taking, and sometimes, I just do stuff, y'all. And my children weren't ready for that, especially not two grown men in their 20s looking at their mother thinking they're supposed to protect me because that's what they think is the story. And I know it's not mine, but there's a disconnect, right? So, this whole idea is that we were both feeling things, but we both have to know ourselves first in order to communicate those things that we're feeling. And SCARF is some great language for you to take away to understand, right? But I also want to take you through a little bit of an activity, which is that in addition to SCARF, right? To figure out where SCARF is for you, sometimes you need to take yourself back to the place where you recognize and remember. Let's go back to that return, which is that, here we go, put it right back up here. This is return. Return is my framework, and this is the framework that is the core of my course, Empowerment Unlocked, starting on January 22nd. That's my plug, friends. I'll keep plugging it because I want you to come join me. You'll be getting tools like this. You'll go to be lessons like this. We'll talk about stories like this, and you'll have an opportunity to share your stories with me. But return is the process, the framework for actually starting to think about, what do I need to remember? What's my safety place? What's my place where I feel threatened? What do I need to remember? And then let's examine it. How might I need that? How do I need someone to show up? What do I need from my environment? Transform means we are transforming our mindsets and shifting them. Unlearning is our behaviors and patterns. And reclaim is starting to claim, own, and empower yourself with the story that was truly always yours, but got lost somewhere in the mix. And finally, we nurture. So let's pull this back because return has some tools. And this is the first one is remember. I want you to remember. Visualize a moment, like literally, really do this. I'm asking you, close your eyes. Visualize a moment where you felt or feel safe and at ease. Who's there? What does the environment have or feel like? What's your body feeling in that moment? What are you hearing? Are there words someone says to make you feel that ease? Are they ways they show up in their physical connection to you, their proximity? Is there a tone they use that eases your your damn, what's it called? That eases your nervous system. I was going to say neuroscience, but that's the wrong word. It eases your nervous system. What does that feel like? All right, I hope you took that moment. So now let's talk about it. When you think about that moment, how did this connect back to the domains of scarf? Like when you imagine this thing, which scarf domains were being fulfilled in that visualization? Was it status? Was it that you were seen and valued? Was it the certainty that you have with a certain relationship that you know it's going to be consistent? You know that person shows up the way they do and they consistently show up the way they do. Or certainty of the environment you're in, so you felt safe enough. You knew how to navigate, you knew how to be present in the space, right? Was it autonomy? Was it your power, your control you had over the moment, over making a decision, over just being able to have power in how you showed up? If you needed a moment to get grace, you got it. If you had the power to be able to be a little weak in the moment, you got it. That's autonomy too. Was it relatedness, just connecting to one another? Or was it a feeling of fairness? So, a lot of times we have these things, right? We have these moments where we feel threatened. And what I'm offering you as your tool to take away is that visualization exercise to start thinking about scarf for yourself. What gives you ease? What replenishes you? And at the same time, understand and know, how does it threaten you when it's not there? What does that feel like? You got to know both things to be able to actually make the changes you need to make. And so, if you know what it is, right? Once you have that, now you can start to replenish yourself, nurture. You can start to give yourself the things you need. So, if it's relatedness, and you know that in that moment that you just visualized, relatedness was really important. So, when you're feeling threatened, and relatedness is the thing, find that person who connects with you. Go to their cubicle and chat with them just to bring your nervous system to a place of ease. Or maybe send a text or call them on the phone. What will give you that relatedness that maybe that one person isn't, but you can get somewhere else? Or maybe sometimes it's that you need to feed yourself. So, autonomy. Now, this one is my go to in life, friends. When I feel I don't have power in a conversation, in a moment, in circumstances, I go to where I do work, creation, creativity, completing a task, or just nurturing myself, give myself a gift. So, we have the power to change things and give ourselves what we need. That's what Empowerment Unlocked is all about. That's what it is to actually recognize and know ourselves and return home to ourselves. And that is what I am hoping I am going to be able to provide for you through all of my tools, through all of the experiences you have with me. So, one is here, Marya's Musings. Always join me when they come. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, share it with someone else. And my Pain to Power show, on every Sunday at 8 p.m. on this channel, Brown Girl Interrupting, on the Ranters Union. And friends, if you have a Roku device, all you got to do is download the I Rant channel and you can see BGI TV. That's me. 24/7. Y'all, 24/7 of me. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody really wants that. But in my status, I feel like that would replenish me completely. So come join me every Sunday on Pain to Power. Watch my Marya's Musings and definitely go and check out my writing because all of this return has been part of a series I started on Substack called Return Coming Home to Self Love. And recently, I just posted, and I'm going to put it in the link below, just posted my second piece all about examine and facing myself. So it's called Facing Myself in Relationships When Healing Means Stepping into the Uncomfortable. And make sure that you are joining me this January to begin your journey to unlock your empowerment, to have these tools and so many more, and gain the knowledge and understanding of yourself that you're unflappable. Nothing breaks you. Nothing harms you for longer than a moment because, yeah, we all have pain and things will hurt you, but you won't stay in it because you'll have the tools to move out. You'll have the tools to know yourself well enough to be strong enough in every moment to turn your pain always into your power. Thank you, friends, for joining me on Marya's Musings. Make sure you join me in January for Empowerment Unlocked, the course that is 5 weeks of guided conversations with me and a community of sharing your stories and getting to know each other and building healing together. All the links are below. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, and pass this along to anyone you feel needs it. Thank you for joining me on Marya's Musings. Peace, love, and forever see and find the light.